Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Healing Room podcast. My name is Leela Zion, your host, and today we have a very special guest. Today, I am speaking with Natasha Van Horn. Hey, Natasha, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's my day off. I'm excited.
Woo-woo. Thank you so much for doing this interview with us here at the Healing Room podcast. Everybody, Natasha's a very special woman. She's a mother, and she is also a van lifer as well as an EMT. Natasha, tell us a little bit about all the things that you do right now, juggling all those hats.
So I'm a single mom of a 6-year-old, and last year in the middle of the pandemic, I had my van. I was dreaming about van life. I wanted to do it, and I was just randomly like, why am I not doing it? Like, I should just do it. So set a deadline, stop psyching yourself out, and just do it. Like, you have a job. You'll be fine. Just move into the van. So I gave myself the deadline, which was when my apartment lease was up. I said, no matter what, ready or not, here I come. So I moved into my van, and it's been pretty good, to be honest. It's almost 9 months now, and I live in it. My daughter doesn't live full time with me. I co-parent with her dad. And then when I'm at work as an EMT, she stays with family, and then I pick her up at the end of the day.
Awesome. So beautiful. I love to hear your strength, especially as a single mother still believing in her dreams. What really inspired you to want to live in your van and travel the world?
All the years ago when I first had my daughter, things didn't necessarily go how I envisioned it as a young person growing up. You have this idea of like, oh, this is who I'm going to be when I'm married, and this is what I'm going to do with my family. And none of those things really panned out the way I thought they were going to. So as my marriage was just breaking up and falling apart, I felt like I had to set aside my dreams and my goals. And they were still, though, I'm like a super tenacious, extremely optimistic dreamer. And so try as I might to like damper like my goals and my dreams, they were always still in the background. Like, one day you should do this. Like, one day you should really try to do this. You really want to. And I don't remember really what got me going, but I was just looking at my daughter one day and I was like, what am I teaching her by pushing these things aside? Like, am I teaching my daughter that you can't achieve your dreams if life gets rough? Like, that's not a fair thing for her to learn from such a young age. Like, I want to teach her that no matter what, you can always achieve your dreams. And I love to travel. Like, I was raised in the outdoors, camping, hiking, and I wanted to do the same thing with my daughter. So I started looking up like inexpensive ways to travel because I was poor. And I needed to like figure out a frugal way to travel that wouldn't be a huge inconvenience with a toddler. And I constantly was Googling things like inexpensive ways to travel, camping outdoors with babies and children, and single mom travel. And the internet did not provide very well, to be honest. I was able to find a little bit more about van life. That's the one thing I did stumble upon. I was like, people are turning their vehicles into legitimate houses. Like, they look like tiny apartments. It's not ghetto. It's beautiful. And that's what triggered the idea. And it started just rolling in my head. I was like, okay, so there's people living in their vans. Most of them are couples or single or they have families. And I started Googling like single mom van life. And I only found one person doing it. And at the same time, I was like, I don't know what their life is like. I don't know how they're able to do it. Like, I have to co-parent. And finally, I was like, you know what? Instead of just constantly wondering and looking it up, maybe I should just do it, right? So I started dreaming. I started like putting little things in place to be able to do van life. And I found a used van for $10,000 and I bought it. And I emptied everything out of it. And then I just drove around in it like that for the longest time because I was too afraid to actually move into it. And then I ran into that lady who was a single mother who was van lifing at an event that I went to. And I was like, oh my gosh. And her name is Bianca. She's amazing. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. I don't mean to be like a weird fan, but I've been like watching your videos because you're an inspiration to me. And I sat there and I talked to her and I was telling her about my struggle because I couldn't find someone doing what I wanted to do with my situation in life. And she told me, she goes, Natasha, the reason you can't find somebody doing it is because you're supposed to be that person. You're supposed to be the person that people find. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, why am I looking for someone else when I'm the only person in my unique situation? And so with that encouragement, it really like stuck in there, like the seed of growth that really helped me just say, you know what, like push the fears aside and just do it. Because maybe somebody out there will drive with what you're doing. And you can be that person to be like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's just see what happens. Worst case scenario, I have a job and I can always move back into an apartment if this does not pan out. So that's kind of like the beginning of it all. And I was surprised. I'm honestly surprised at how easy it was once I took the leap. Like it was way scarier in my head than it is in reality.
Wow. I am so shocked that you met this woman that you were, trying to be inspired by right then and there. It's like you needed to meet her. It was a sign from God that you needed to pursue your dreams as a traveling mom. I'm really, really proud of you.
Thank you.
I also understand your struggle because I was divorced. I am divorced, and I was in an abusive relationship. So not that you were, but I'm just saying I understand the struggle of moving forward relationship-wise. How was it for your daughter? How does she feel about traveling on the road with mama?
She loves it. She's constantly asking like if she can sleep in the van. And when it's my week, when I work, I don't get to travel with her, like, because I'm stationary when I'm working. And so she'll always ask me like, oh, can we go somewhere in the van? And I'm like, not this week. We'll go on my days off, but I can't go right now. She absolutely loves it. She's already gotten to meet a few other people who van life with like either little meetups that we've done. And she'll ask me about those people constantly. Like she wants to hang out with other people who van life. She wants to go on these adventures. And it turns out for a 6-year-old, she's a really good navigator.
Wow. They are really smart these days compared to, when we were younger. I don't know how old you are. I'm 31. And so I remember there she goes. Hey, cutie. I didn't have the wisdom technology that they do now. So when it comes to school, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, how do you educate her while you're on the road?
Yeah, I want to homeschool her, but because of the pandemic, and she's just finished up her first year of kindergarten, because of the pandemic, everything went virtual. So everything was on the road already. Like we all did it through internet. And so all I needed was to make sure I had a hotspot or I had Wi-Fi. And that made it great. Like there was times we would be driving on the road and she would have the laptop in front of her and be plugged into the hotspot and in class. And her teachers would be like, oh, Rowan, where are you going now? So that really helped put the foot forward into showing that it's really possible to even do like a public education via a virtual type of realm. I guess you can just do it online and it's not hard now. Homeschooling and virtual schooling has come a long way as far as technology goes, and this last year really showed me that I could either do public school with her online or I can choose to homeschool her. And I was homeschooled, so I'm used to that world very much. Like, so either way, she's got a lot of options moving forward, and it just showed that it's possible to be on the road as long as you had some Wi-Fi. And sometimes, like, we would just let the teachers know if we were going in an area where there wouldn't be, and they were so understanding. They're like, no problem. Like, we already got you down for the class today, so you guys can go have a good time. So it worked out really well. Mm-hmm.
That is amazing that you have community around you and everybody understands and is kind of allowing you to live out your dreams. So I know, like, if I was to travel the world, because it's something that I'm going to do one day as well. I found you because you're an inspiration to me as well. Yes. So I know when I told my parents, they were kind of against it. They were nervous. They didn't think it was safe. How how have you been able to remain safe? What are some safeguards that you've put in place, or some routines that you have that have kept you and your daughter safe on the road?
Mm. As a rule of thumb, something I've picked up over the last few years is, especially with smartphones, we have the ability to share our location. And that's been a big thing for me. I always let family know like where I'm planning on going. If I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, I will check in with them before I like leave an area that has any type of cellular. If I'm going up into the mountains, I'll let them know, hey, I'm in this town. I'm heading up in this area. I should be back by this time, you know, and I always keep friends in the loop. I have a friend, one of my best friends, I share my location with all the time so that they can always see like where I'm at and check up on me. And if they don't hear from me, they know to go and find me, or they know where to send somebody. Something I also picked up as the EMT is we get a lot of calls in a lot of shaded areas, and something that us first responders are taught is we have to take care of ourselves first. So no matter what, if a scenario like we're on a call and it starts to go south, or we see that something is going on or there's a fight, we leave. And so I've gotten this sense of things where I can feel like a situation, like this gut feeling, like, oh, something doesn't feel right. And I've learned to trust that. So the second you start to get this feeling like, this parking spot does not seem like the right, space, or I've seen too many people walk by that seem a little shady, that's when you listen to that and you get up and you move. So that's something I always do. I always feel safer way out in nature, way like over the city. So I always make sure I'm going to park out in nature, or if I have to park in the city, I'm always making sure I know like where the closest police station is, and I know like the best response times are a fire station. Fire stations are really safe places to be by. So I'll make sure I know where like the closest everything is, and I make sure I know my exit strategy. Like if I'm parking somewhere, am I closed in? Can I just get up and drive away? No problem. So those are always things that I keep in the back of my head,
I like
Yeah.
that you're adjusting well. Now, how has fear, because I know you've overcome fear of going on the road, how has the overcoming fear transpired in other areas of your life?
I feel like this is an ongoing lesson for me, to be honest. I will say that van life didn't technically teach this one to me. It was definitely traveling throughout different areas of my life. And I've learned that there's always this, like, I might have a dream of something that I want to do. And I'll give an example. Like right now, I have a goal to eventually like buy a sailboat and learn sailing. I know nothing. I know nothing about sailing. It's just this dream that I have that I just think would be amazing one day. And behind it is a lot of fear, because it's like, well, you don't know how to sail and you could drown, and the ship could go down and you could lose everything and you could die. Those are the big fears. And it's like, why would you dream of something so fantastical? Maybe you should dream a little smaller, Tosh. Like those are thoughts that are in the back of my head. And at the same time, I'll look back. Like this is how I get over the fears. I look back at things that scared me before. Like going to the Philippines for a month when I was 16 without my family. It was scary. Best time of my life. And then a couple years later, I decided to go be a tutor and teach in Albania for 9 months. And once again, without my family, going to a place I didn't know. I had a really, really scary experience there where I got stalked and I had to leave the country and go to Egypt for a little bit. And so those things, looking back on it, like the scary scenarios, when I got through them and I looked back, I was like, it's never as bad. Even the scary things are never as bad as what our mind hypes it up to be. And there's a strength that I feel like from every experience, I feel like I grow a little bit stronger. Like I've discovered that if you just get through it, it's not as scary as you think it is. So just take that step of faith. And so it's helped me a lot of things when it comes to like trying new hobbies that I want to do, but that I'm scared of, backpacking or rock climbing or something. Every time I've taken a step, I have discovered a side of myself that I wouldn't have discovered if I hadn't taken that step. And I'm just kind of loving the process of it so far.
Wow. I think that's a great message for anybody listening who needs help overcoming fear. It definitely resonated with me. So thank you for sharing that. So when it comes to, I know a lot of women want to know this, when it comes to like dating life, I don't know where you are in your healing journey from the divorce, but what does it look like as a woman as beautiful as you? I'm sure you get hit on all the time. How's dating life like for you as someone on the road? Have you thought about that? Is there a future for that, or?
There is somebody special in my life right now. It took a long time to get here, though, to be honest. After the divorce, like I said, my home life as a child, I was homeschooled, had a very wonderful life. My parents have been together for like 40 something years. Like, I was raised with a family that had very strong marriage, like, examples in my life, you know, and my sisters, like, they have a very strong marriage. So I was not expecting divorce. And when things went down the way they did, I really struggled, like, to wrap my head around accepting it. You know, it's like the same fear thing. It was another fear of being alone. Like, I had become a different person. I identified as a wife and as a mother, and no longer being a wife was a new identity I had to accept. It's like I had to refine who Natasha was as a single mom, and that was so scary. And to be honest, I promised myself that I would make sure that I didn't rebound date. Like, I was like, no matter what, I will not rebound, because I have so much to figure out. Like, I would be at the store and randomly start crying because I realized I'm grocery shopping and I don't have the family home that I thought I was going to have. And I had to allow myself to grieve and get through that process and let it go and be like, this isn't your life anymore. So don't yearn for it or like, you need to let yourself grieve. So I allowed myself to go through that process. I refused to date anybody up until I felt like I was healed, because I didn't want to rebound. And I was also afraid as well. Like, I had been with someone for so long before the other shoe dropped. And when the other shoe dropped, I had this fear of, if I'm with somebody, when will the other shoe fall? So I promised myself, I was like, do not date anybody unless they have the same dreams and the same goals and everything that you want them to have. Like, be picky, be selfish about it, because this, like, I don't want to date over and over and over. I don't want to go through heartbreak. And now I have a daughter. Like, I don't want to put her through a cycle of, well, who's this person, you know? So I was very strict with it. And I decided that the best thing was to learn to love myself. Like, love myself in my new phase of life, love my dreams, remember the things that I wanted to do before I was with somebody, re-identify myself as a strong woman who has her own dreams and goals that's not aligned with anybody else's. And once I did that, I swear a man can smell a girl who's like, that woman knows what she wants in life. I'm gonna go mess it up. Because that is when guys started coming out of the woodworks, like, oh, hi, you're doing cool things, let's be friends. And no matter what, like, I was like, you know what, they're looking for their someone too, so I'm not going to be rude with them. I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to tell them from the get-go, I'll be your friend, I will not date you because I am not there. And I refuse to date anybody until I'm there. And it wasn't until, like, I had become friends with somebody and we just started getting closer and closer, and I would start to push back because I'm like, I don't know if I'm there yet. And when that person just gave so much respect and they're like, oh yeah, no problem, take all the steps back you need me to. And it just stayed that way. And the other shoe never fell. So we're still in that whole, like, and I stay the same way. Like, I think communication is so important. So I constantly communicate, like, hey, I don't want to jump in that deep yet. So let's just keep things where it's at. And maybe one day it'll get a little deeper. So I think when you come out of a really hurtful relationship, just stay true to you, love yourself the most, take care of yourself, set your boundaries and don't break them down.
Yes, I love that. And on that note, I'm just going to close this interview because that was just magic. All of that was magic, Natasha. I thank you so much for this advice. I know my listeners are so inspired, and especially the divorced women who are listening. I know you're inspired because I'm inspired by Natasha's journey. The single women that are listening, I know you're inspired because I'm not even a mother yet, and I'm inspired. So, Natasha, thank you for your transparency. Thank you for sharing your story with us, your passion, your love, and we wish you all the best, and we'll keep our eyes peeled on you. Where can the people find you on social platforms?
I have a social media account on Instagram. That's my main one. It's Tasha of All Trades. You can also find me on YouTube. I'm trying to get better at posting on there. Every once in a blue moon, a video will pop up.
Okay. Well, hopefully we inspire you to post more because we want to see more of your lifestyle. And for those who are afraid of doing van life, what's like one last piece of advice that you could give them?
Take the leap and give it a shot. You can always quit van life if it's not your thing.